Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Beta Nurse here, and today we are going to do something that I feel is going to help the Survivor side more at the higher ranks and kind of help you understand just how important distance is overall in Dead by Daylight. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and show you, and don't freak out when you see these numbers because it's not a math lesson, but the example that I kind of did when I did these numbers, so obviously your base killer, it doesn't have a power with distance or whatnot and speed, blah blah blah, is going to get 4.6 meters a second, and a survivor is going to get 4 meters a second. This is just a chart showing, for example, if a base killer with a 32 meter terror radius enters, like you enter the terror radius, if a survivor moves as soon as they hear the terror radius, they're going to move at 4 meters per second. And if the killer and survivor are just going in a straight line, which is almost not the case, but this is just a rough reference, like this is just a baseline, like perfect case scenario. If you just keep the straight distance, you're going to maintain this. Normally it would take 53 seconds to catch up on a survivor that starts at your terror radius and just run straight. Now obviously any sort of wiggling, looking back, and things like that can usually alter it. And for example, I'm going to show you just a simple wiggle run, or simply wiggling while running, or anything, or something that's just not a straight line, is going to cut your meters in half usually. But if a survivor is running, like this, going this way, or kind of like looking back, not going straight, and a killer is just going straight, generally, like if you added these little lines and these little wiggles into meters and stuff and divided it, blah blah blah, the killer is going to catch up almost maybe 1/3 faster than they would have, which is why you're not getting like a full 53 seconds. It's completely unrealistic to think that you would get that. And the other scenario that I have is, if you're running straight. Oh god, I'm already messing up this. Hold up, bear with me, guys. So if you're just running straight like this, and the killer is cutting you off, obviously the killer is going to cut the distance needed, as opposed to if y'all were just running, back to back. That being said, and this is just to kind of help, and I have a video to show that's going to talk about exactly what I mean by getting distance and using that to your advantage, because at the highest ranks, killers at medium safe pallets are generally going to moonwalk and try to bait you. And again, these are just rough numbers. For example, 24 meters, if they ran in a straight line, would take roughly 41 seconds before the killer caught up to you. 16 meters would take roughly 27, and again, this is just best case scenario running in a straight line. And I'll get into the hit stuff here, but the big thing that I see for people that like to run sprint burst is don't wait for the killer to get close. You lose so much distance. Like waiting say you are 24 meters away and you just wait the 6 seconds or like that. This is like, this distance right here would be amplified, so you would be moving at an extra, let's see, 1/4, so 150%, which would be twice as fast. Yeah, you would probably be in, I'd say, this range with sprint burst if you just used it initially. By the time the killer got to like 6 seconds, something like that. Again, these are just rough numbers, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the example. This was against a Legion, and this works really well against killers out of their power that need to get an M1 to down you. And also, this works really well against spirits, because unless they're running the Yokoi amulet, which is a purple add-on, they're not going to be getting 10 seconds of phase. They're going to be they get 5 seconds base, maybe 2.5 if they run the green one, I believe, that extends the time. But other than that, like, this is the number one thing that I feel like a lot of survivors don't do. Now, obviously, this killer didn't, Legion was coming out of frenzy, so they couldn't hit me through this pallet. So what I'm doing here, you're going to see me wiggle around a little bit. I'm keeping keeping eyes on both sides, and again, I've played rank 1 killer, and I can say what I'm about to do is literally the most annoying thing when playing killers like Legion and killers that need to get a down without their power, or like, for example, if you're playing Hillbilly and you can't get a curve on certain things, even the better killers struggle with this. So you're gonna I see the red light there, right? But this Legion's obviously moonwalking. So what I'm gonna do, since I can't see the Legion, this is what I consider a medium safe pallet. Legion has a really small height. So he can kind of moonwalk, but I have a chance to kind of guess 50-50. I'm running Windows Opportunity, but it's still on cooldown. So what I end up doing is just completely leaving, rather than just let him mind game or do anything like this. I'm going to the next tile. And if this was not Shelter Woods and this was like Suffocation Pit, this would be absolutely brutal. And you see how much distance just from that, after this Legion had already ended Frenzy, just from here and then the moonwalk, and the Legion ends up trying to swing through the pallet, and I'm already over here. That's what, maybe 6-7 meters of distance already. I get to this next loop, and I'm pretty much just going to do the same thing, you guys. I'm looking for here. I don't see any red stain. I'm assuming this Legion's probably moonwalking, so, and obviously I'm not camping pallets, so the Legion made a poor mistake. It is a rank 4 Legion on crossplay, so I'm not saying this is one of the best killers, but again, I bait this way, the Legion come around, and again I'm injured, so I'd rather just make use of going to the next tile. And the Legion actually swung through that pallet as well. This doesn't work on all killers, and it's not to say that this is going to work every time, but just the amount of distance that I'm getting, and I do dead hard and get the stun here. But let's go back to the first clip initially before I left. So I ended up vaulting into the Legion here. Ignore that. We're not going to show that. We got to make myself look good. So at approximately, I should probably be down at what, the 135, 136 mark if I stay here. Maybe 140. We'll just say 140, right? If I'd stayed there, I'd probably run the risk of getting down. I camp the pallet, I vault it, and I still get hit. So 140 is probably where I would have been down. I see this Legion not moonwalking. I have dead hard. So and another thing about this, especially if you're running dead hard in this situation, is this is just gonna be a dead hard tip. Staying here is better than hugging this right here, because if you hug this and you see a red stain here, you might not get time to react, especially if he moonwalks all the way around. With this situation, I can see exactly if he's gonna moonwalk this way, and if he moonwalks this way, I can just dead hard, and I can catch the pallet without running the risk of really running into anything. As if you camp this side to the left and you like moonwalk or you dead hard prematurely on accident or something, you have a chance of getting clipped on the wall or something like that. Whereas right here, it's pretty much just hugging the wall, going straight, and you can go into a pallet stun, which is why I'm not staying too hard on this side. I want to make sure Legion swings, and they see me go to the left, so they probably think I'm going that way, but I immediately go to the next pallet. And again, so 140 is probably where I would have been down. I've already bought my team 20 seconds of time. I completely leave this loop and the Legion swings through it. Again, these are this is also like managing good pallet resources for a map that's kind of barren and doesn't have too many safe pallets. So at 140, I would have went down, and we're at 210, and I think this Legion with the Eerie button just decides to leave me. So just that alone bought 30 seconds, and that 30 seconds bought was 30 seconds to each of my teammates. Now, there wasn't a lot to do with it. They're still, I guess, not mending. Did they even mend the whole time? What happened over there? But that being said, that's just an example of just maximizing distance. And because even as a rank 1 killer myself who's been playing quite a bit, the mind gaming with certain killers that get locked out of their powers at loops, especially on maps like Suffocation Pit, the cold wind maps and stuff, the distance you gain is so incredibly strong. And you see here, not even camping the pallets and whatnot, just extending the entire map and just extending loops and keeping resources ends up helping. And the last thing I want to talk about is right here. So weapon cooldown for killer, I believe, is 2 seconds. I could be wrong. So for 2 seconds, you get no distance. Now, a normal hit's going to give you 150% movement speed for 2 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to be 6 meters a second. So you're going to get an initial 12 meters, and by the time the killer gets a weapon cooldown, weapon wipe off cooldown, whatever, they go 4.6. They're going to catch up on a normal hit at about 22 seconds if you just run in a straight line, which typically should be your goal when you do get hit, is maximize that distance and try to get to another tile. That's more than enough time. You already get the 12 meters, and you get to run. You're running straight, and the killer's trying to catch up. Again, this is a 4.6 killer. This isn't factoring like play with your food. And against a 4.4 killer, it's even more brutal. But a 360 attempt, I found on average, you lose about that. You pretty much lose that 1 second, especially if you turn into the killer and you end up getting stuck in a bad zone, or you turn and you get hit and then you end up going towards the killer. You end up losing not only 1 second, but I think you lose like maybe 1.2, which is a big deal. It's important. You're trying to maximize your distance and your time efficiency. You're trying to buy your team some time, and 360 should only be used as a last resort. I know you've seen all the really good highlight videos of people doing it and waking the killer whiff, but if you're wondering why you're going down so fast in certain chases and complaining on Reddit forums about certain killers being OP, it's generally because of this. It's trying to make a killer miss when you don't really need to. That first hit, like for example, say you don't get that. This is the difference that not getting that first 6 meters makes right here, right? Is the killer would catch you at 14 seconds if you only got 1 second of that sprint burst, as opposed to 23 seconds. That's almost double your time. The difference is what, 9 seconds? You lose 9 seconds on the chase just by 360 into the killer. So just in general, I hope this actually helps people kind of understand the whole distance perspective, and why even when you're playing against bad survivors, you can kind of end up losing because survivors sometimes will just run straight or be so unpredictable. They're not really staying at loops. And as someone who plays just about every killer, I can honestly say the most games that I lose, or chases that I lose, as well as the teams that I lose, are teams that Don't even try to mind game medium safe pallets, which are generally the ones you saw earlier, where there's like a 50-50 chance I can moonwalk, I can kind of get a hit. And the filler pallets, which are just incredibly unsafe. The filler pallets, which are basically ones you have to get stuns on, which is like the Hawkins map, like they're pallets that you have to get the stun, or you're not getting to the next tile without taking a hit, regardless. Even with live, just because of the frame rate drops on live is sometimes rough. So that's just to give you an idea. Super safe loops, you don't really have to worry about that as much, unless it's like a Deathslinger or Huntress on like Auto Haven. You don't have to worry about it as much, but that's going to be kind of my example of just how to maximize your time, especially when you're playing at the higher ranks. So I hope that helped you guys, and hopefully I will see you guys for another video.